If you're looking to move from Texas to Florida, I'm going to give you everything you need to know in this video from someone who's done it. I've actually lived in Austin, Texas, and my wife is from San Antonio. So I know a little bit about Texas, and I was raised in Florida. So I'm going to give you the pros, the cons. We'll go over housing, taxes, transportation, climate, everything you need to know in this video. So let's just get right into it. I love Texas and I love Florida. There are parts of Texas that actually have my heart, as well as, my in-laws are there and families there as well, and I have family here in Florida. But whether you're making that decision to move from Texas to Florida, it's on Forbes' top 10 places where people are migrating to. So either way, you're making the right decision. Jumping straight into the cost of living, we know that Texas and Florida are both relatively affordable. That's why people are migrating to those states. But we'll throw up this cost of living index, and you notice that Florida is 19% more. But some of this stuff could be updated. For example, the eggs on this list are wrong. I know that's a hot commodity. I've seen them as high as $8 to $15 in Publix, being our version of HEB. I know my wife will sit here and debate that with me, but HEB and Publix, they're kind of similar in that aspect. Moving on to transportation, you notice that it is 9% more in Florida than it is in Texas. And Texas does have more interstates, so that's something to take into consideration, as well as it is 8% more affordable in gas. So if that's kind of your weighing point as far as how you get around, they both have great coasts and the scenery is different. So I miss driving and seeing the canyons because it is relatively flat here. It is below sea level. So you're driving, there's a lot of greenery, which you can enjoy. And if you take US 1 in Florida, then you can enjoy the coast all the way up and down the East Coast. So that's something to take into consideration. They're both beautiful scenic views, but it's just depending on what you like to see more of. Another thing to note is the Bright Line is coming, which is going to be a train which the top speed is 125. So I'll throw up a map of everywhere it's stopping so you could kind of see and make some adjustments if that's something you're looking to take or take advantage of. You notice that the speed, like I said, is 125 and there's no stops in Vero Beach. So that was done on purpose. The city actually fought it. They didn't want it turning into a commuter town. They still want to keep Sebastian, Vero Beach relatively small. So that's just something to take note of in consideration when you're trying to move from Texas to Florida. If you want to take advantage of that Bright Line, it's definitely going to be there for use. You could drive down to Fort Pierce, West Palm area, and then take the train up to Orlando, go to Disney, do all that stuff, or get to the airport. So there are benefits. One last thing touching on transportation is that Vero Beach does have its own regional airport, so you can take advantage of those flights. I know that Breeze Airlines flies from Vero Beach to Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Norfolk, Virginia. So that's could be something to take advantage of and keep in mind. Another thing to take into consideration is housing. It's 20.1% more expensive in Florida, but again, you have to take into consideration they're averaging the states. So you have Miami, Orlando, Fort Lauderdale, Delray, West Palm, these places that are more expensive, just like you have areas of Texas that are more expensive, such as Austin. But the housing is relatively more affordable here in Vero Beach. You can purchase a home 10 minutes away from the beach for around $250,000 to $300,000. So if you're looking for close proximity to the beach, this may be the place to do it. And it's nothing like those Houston beaches. But if you are moving from a major city such as Austin, San Antonio, Dallas, just keep in mind the city of Vero Beach is 16,700 people, roughly. So that number is constantly growing, but it is a big change when considering purchasing a house here. That's also not to mention, some of the foods as well. There's definitely more things to eat and do in those major cities, of course, but Vero Beach is relatively small. So if you're looking for a little bit more of that relayed, family oriented lifestyle, this may be the place to be. So we touched on housing, where you can find a relatively affordable home for around $300,000 close to the beach, and you still have to pay property taxes, which leads me to my next point is that Florida is actually 0.89% lower than Texas when considering property taxes. So for example, the median home price, let's say, is $215,000, you're paying around $1,914 in property taxes. You compare that to Texas, where the median home price is $172,500, depending on where you're looking. Definitely not in Austin, but you pay $3,099. So that's where you could kind of see a difference as far as property taxes go. So if you're looking to move remote and avoid the property taxes, then this may be a place to go. You can also homestead your property, which gives you tax exemptions. And all you have to do is live here for 6 months and 1 day, and then you could relocate and live somewhere else, travel to your second home. Just using an example, because that could be a major selling point, especially if you're working remote and you want to have this as your primary location. Let's say you're a remote worker and you want to purchase a bigger home on the island of Vero Beach, which is highly sought after. You're across the street from the beach, but you're still touching the lagoon side with Indian River access. So you could see right here, you buy this $1.15 million home. And as of 2021, the tax roll was 6,645. So you can purchase this $1.15 million home and not have to pay a whole nother mortgage and taxes. So again, that's just something to consider depending on where you're looking to move and what suits your lifestyle the best. Touching on climate a little bit, you're moving from Texas to Florida. Houston knows a little bit about the humidity, but it gets brutal in Florida. You are below sea level. It could be raining 2 minutes. 2 minutes later, the sun's out, beating on the asphalt, picking up all that moisture. It's frizzing your hair. It's making you look a little crazy. You're hot and sticky. It's not a big deal if you have a pool, but that's just something to keep in mind, is that it gets humid in Florida and summers can get brutal, but winters are amazing. 72, sunny. It'll maybe be cold for a week or two. People will be wearing their puffer jackets and their Uggs for about a day, and then by the end of the day, it's 75. So it just depends on how you want to live your lifestyle, and that's just something to take into consideration. I know that when I was in Austin, I was not prepared for a snowstorm, and it kind of threw the whole city for a loop. No one was really prepared for how severe it could get. You know, some people went without powers for multiple weeks, and then they had sewage issues and plumbing and AC and heat pump issues. So no one was really prepared. At least in Florida, when the tropical storm or hurricane comes, the news will do a good job of showing you a spaghetti map, all the possible ways that it could hit, and kind of freak some of the other states out, but not so much Floridians. You kind of know what to expect. You'll board up, you'll do everything you can, but at the end of the day, these are concrete block homes, frame homes, all built to withstand a hurricane. So you put your shutters up, you have your impact windows, your generator, your extra gas, your extra canned goods, and you're good to go. There's definitely more time for preparation when the hurricanes come. And if you're only spending your time here occasionally, you can board up your house and go somewhere else and just kind of avoid everything as a whole. So that's a lot of what you need to know if you're moving to Florida. I know it's not an easy decision moving from Texas to Florida and just uprooting your whole life. So if I can make it easier in any way, please feel free to reach out. I'm constantly helping families fit them in the right location that fits their budget here in Vero Beach. If you want to know a little bit more about the community, then I have a playlist of different areas you could tour, and I'll give you some information right here. So just click on this playlist. You can find other videos. If you have questions about Vero Beach and you want to see more, please feel free to reach out, but I will see you guys in the next video.